You, my friend, are a very cool person. I met you for the very first time when you did a portrait of a brewer at Ballast. Yeah, you went in and I didn't know you from a hole in the wall, and I didn't know any of your work, honestly, except the fact that when you introduced yourself, and then I referenced you later. I went to go look at your stuff later. Then I was like, oh, this guy's a badass, and he's a professional photographer, and he does a bunch of shoots for brewers. But you went over to Ballast Point, and anybody that can make me look halfway decent is worth their weight in malt, my friend. So I appreciate that, dude. Those pictures are so
Thank you. We have a that one with you and the skeleton. I love that shot.
That was good. That was good. And it was your idea, I think. You're like, I went over and you're like, hey, why don't you pick up those skeletons? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with these things? Keep it PG, Matt.
Right.
And you're like, no, just, and you got me a portfolio of great shots. And if you go to my Instagram right now, that is my actual.
Oh yeah. I've seen it. Yeah.
Every brewer in town, by the way, that has been shot by Matt Furman, it is now their new,
it should be.
Their profile
as it should
photo,
be.
You're so good.
Wow. Thank you guys. Oh, this is great. Thanks for coming over.
What are you talking about, dude? We're in
We done? We done now?
We are in my garage. Thanks for doing it here. Yeah. So the brewer thing and how I met you, and you're just like, as soon as I met you, I knew there's certain people you meet and you're like, oh, we're going to be boys. You know what I mean? And Jeff, you're one of those people. And the brewer thing, it's fun for me to do. But like, for example, with you with the skeleton you kind of have to have something other than just the stainless steel tanks behind people. You know what I mean? And so that can be challenging, but I do love it. And I think for me, it's a way to show the people behind the beer making the liquid. You get to kind of show their personality a little bit. You don't really see that.
That's hard.
Right.
That's really hard because you have photographed some of the most intriguing, from a character profile standpoint, eccentric, right? Like you've photographed some real personalities. Yeah. And I'm not saying that they don't exist in the beer world. I'm just saying it's really hard to get them out of their shell in that sense, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the people that you've photographed are already these A-listers, like celebrity chefs, guys like Derek Jeter, and like you go, oh, these guys are going to come at you and you just need to capture the moment.
Yeah.
But with the brewers, you had to go in there and you kind of have to bring it out of them. And I don't know how you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's tough. And a lot of them sometimes are like, can we go do it in front of the barrels or whatever? And I'm like, oh man, no.
Real original.
Yeah, we got to switch it up. So, yeah, it's, I don't know. I think it's maybe my background in magazines that I still kind of take that approach when going to photograph some brewers. Is like, hey, if GQ had called me to shoot this brewer, like, what would I do? You know what I mean? So that's kind of the.
Why don't you walk me through that real quick? What would you do? Like, let's say GQ or Vanity or something like that. They do say, hey, you know what? We're gonna do this thing.
Jeff, you're not gonna be in GQ.
This is my call.
Okay?
This is my
Playboy.
this is my call out to GQ and Esquire. If you're looking for a craft beer piece, specifically here in San Diego, I know a photographer that can make me look good. So they hit you up, right? And they're saying, hey, we're looking to showcase a couple of breweries, let's say. What is that thought process that goes through your brain? Or before you started shooting breweries, what was that thought process? And how did you kind of enter that space?
Yeah. I mean, I'm old enough. I wanted to be, a Rolling Stone photographer, work for magazines. That was the goal, getting out of college. I moved to New York. I got to New York the week before 9/11. So 2001, September 1st, as I moved to New York. Yeah. And so 11 days later, obviously,
holy shit,
that everything, it was brutal.
Whoa.
But so that was the goal, was to shoot for magazines. So in growing up back then, it was still film, I was shooting film, but you had to, you had to have a portfolio together, and you had to assist other photographers. Like nobody ever asked for my resume or like where I went to school or anything like that. It's your portfolio of work. And before that, and then to make money and kind of learn how to act on set and interact and make money at photography, I had to assist photographers. So that was my goal, and that's what I started doing. And you kind of like, as a freelancer, you start building up, learning more and more. I mean, I had some horrible like not knowing what the fuck I was doing on set. And because everything shut down during 9/11, there was like a good 6 months where I was just hustling, just like, hey, I'll come clean your studio. Like I'll do anything. Like I didn't have any,
to get paid or to get your foot in the door. Like, did you already have
both.
like this pre-sense that, all right, I just need to get my foot in the door and make some relationships? Or were you saying, hey man, like I'll go clean this, but I need to make some money?
Yeah, both. It was trying to meet anybody I could, but I also didn't want to like, oh, maybe I'll get a bartending job or something. Like I just was like, I'm doing photography. I'm going 100% at this. And so there were enough people. Well, everybody I had lined up before I got there. And then of course, once 9/11 happens, they're like, talk to me in, several months from now. And so anyway, I eventually got to the point where I had a couple photographers that I worked for. They really took me under their wing, showed me the ropes. One of the guys, he would be like, have you ever heard of B&H Photo?
Yeah.
Big photo store in New York.
Yep.
I have.
It's like a Walmart, but all photography stuff.
Okay.
And it's a really cool store. And anyway, what would happen is if somebody did call me, so you kind of get your name out there, and photographers start calling you. And if a certain assistant can't work that day, they'd be like, hey, call Matt. And so anyway, they would tell me like, hey, this is the camera system we use, and this is the lighting we use. And I would just say yes, even though I didn't know what I was doing. So I would go to B&H. And you're allowed to like look at the I'd be like, hey, show me the Hasselblad system, show me the Pro Photo. And like, I'm thinking of buying it, even though I'm not thinking of buying it, but I need to learn how to use it.
Right. Okay.
So
you're using them almost as a quick little tutorial.
I would do. And there was man, there's one time, I don't know if I'm making myself sound horrible here, but one time I had a guy, because film, I'm telling you, you didn't have this digital where you were like, oh, we're fine, it looks good, like we were hoping you got the shot. And this one guy had called me, and it was 4x5 film, and you had to load this stuff properly, and I of course kind of knew what I was doing.
Right,
I needed the work. And so anyway, the first day on set, he pulls me over, and he was like, don't fucking do this again. Like he was,
like you,
but he was cool to me. He was
you.
like, I knew I had kind of fucked up because I didn't know what I was doing that well, but he was like, I'm going to pay you, but I don't want you, you're not coming back. Like I can't have you loading this film wrong. Like, and it was a still life shoot. And I was just like, you're right, I'm sorry. I thought I could figure this out. And I could. And I was just like, yeah. And then from then on, I kind of was like, you know what? I'm not going to just put but a lot of times I have in my career kind of put myself into situations where like I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants, you know what I mean? And like,
after that moment though,
Yeah.
like it's that you're telling that story as though it was this weird kind of like moment in your career that you actually did learn from it, and you kind of never went back. But you also knew that in that industry, in most industries, when you're starting out, you got to kind of like, you kind of throw caution to the wind a little bit. Yeah. And so from that point on, were you more like, okay, calculated risk? Like you were learning the game, like you're learning how to play, blackjack or something. Right. Like the risk is always there. Right. I might burn all my cash right now, but at least I have a semblance of how it kind of works.
Yeah.
And you don't you kind of overextend yourself into that situation ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And you can do that a lot in photography as far as like, I'll do this shoot, and then
I faked it my whole life.
Right.
I'm making it right now.
Well, not even faking it. Sometimes, I've had this happen where even the art director was like, Matt, you don't have to say yes to everything. Like, I can retouch 100 pictures by tomorrow morning for you. And they're like, just tell me the truth. Like, can you do this or not? And so I had to learn that, because it is this industry as a freelancer, like you always want to be making sure you get the call back. You know what I mean? Or like you can kind of feel like, oof, if I don't crush this and they're not the happiest, client ever, like I'm never going to work again. Or, at least I kind of have that fear in me.
I don't know what, like,
Even to this day.
like
so.
you and Rick, even, and anybody in that space, that is such a weird, vulnerable position to be in, I feel, where your work is literally your interpretation of what you think is good. So when you get knocked down on something, you're like, hey man, this is trash. It's so visceral because that's like the way you work. That was literally your opinion, your thing. It's not like, something came out.
Not
dry
always
in the
that though,
bakery.
too. Like occasionally there will be a client who's looking for an exact thing, and like sometimes like I do stuff that I don't feel like I like it or I think it looks good or necessarily, but the client's happy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I wonder.
And keep in mind here, I am like way down here. This guy is
Dude,
like
Matt
he's
Pryor
he's
just
legit. Right
shared
here.
your photo.
He's legit. I'm like, I feel like a fraud right now.
Man, please. One thing I do though, Rick, is because you do have to make the client happy, and a lot of times too, I'll get like a set list or a mood board, and I'm like, I will do this. I'm gonna make sure they're happy and do this, but then I usually try to say like, I'm going to do one other option that I think would be cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I got to use it or whatever. And I would say 8 out of 10 times they end up using like
Right.
other
Okay,
shot.
that makes a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a lot of times where I'll get something and I'm like, you could have hired anybody. Like, but if you wanted, like, you went to my portfolio, you wanted like what you think I can bring to the table, then let me like actually try to do that. And so sometimes, it's just like, let's cover our ass and do what they want, and then let's do something like
And that
cool.
that makes a lot of sense until you start figuring out your own aptitude, your own, I guess, your own skill set, and you recognize that, hey man, I'm not a spring chicken anymore in this industry. And then you can start to say, that feels like, at what point did that start to feel icky for you? Where you go like, oh, no, I don't want to do anything that is just their interpretation. I could just be a hand for hire. I don't want to be a hand for hire anymore. At what point in your career did you say, no, I have a special thing and I don't want to pick up any gigs that are going to tell me how to do that special thing? If you even remember that.
No, I know for a fact I don't feel like that. It's my job, dude. It's my living. Like I rarely turn anything down unless it's really
All right.
like really low ball offer. But I'm a hustler,
We're
man.
in Del
Like,
Cerro, people.
yeah.
It better be.
I mean,
There's low ball and then there's low ball.
there's nothing like as far as if it's a decent budget. There's no. I mean, I'll shoot your cat. You know what I mean? Like I'm not above anything like that, and I'm pretty open with working with people, and like I never like, even now I'm working with a lot of people that are younger than me, and I'm not like I'm the boss here or whatever. It's like, hey, let's make something cool. Like there's a lot of people that work digging ditches, like a lot harder jobs than I do. And like, why not have fun and make something cool? Like
That's a good point. That's a mindset though. It's a
mindset.
That's something that you either figure out early on and you foster it, or you've been through the trenches and it comes out of the meat grinder as something a lot more positive. But you're right. Look, you're taking photos.
Yeah.
And it's okay, and sometimes it's merited to distill it down to something that's trivial. But when you take a step back and take an eagle's eye view, I guess, in a weird way, it's an art form. And everybody has a camera. Yeah. Everybody has a camera. My daughter has a camera. Right. Believe me, dude. I have like 275 photos of like her big toe that she just decided, whatever. Everybody has a camera. But the weird thing about art, and this is where photography kind of fits in that category, is that it really is in a weird way a beholder thing, right? An eye of the beholder thing. And you go, well, Is it that everybody has a camera and some people don't deserve to have that camera? No, it's probably that everybody has a vision, and then does it get kind of like passed on to the public to have that feedback loop to say that what you're doing is good or what shot is? How does that work? Because now in this new space, in this new age of cameras on my phone, cameras on my Tamagotchi. Damn, dude, did I say Tamagotchi?
I think we have one of those somewhere in the house.
Remember Tamagotchis? Dude?
Yeah, I remember.
They, you know why they're not around anymore? Because they didn't put a camera on it when they should have. But everybody has a camera. Everybody has a vision, and just like art, everybody has creativity.
Yeah.
What emerges from that to stick around? And I don't know if anybody intentionally figures that out or not. I don't know.
Yeah. Good. Great question. I think for me, I've put in the 10,000 hours.
There you go.
So it's no, you can't, there's not a single situation you could put me in that I'd be like, wow, this is, I'm shitting my pants right now. You know what I mean? Like I feel a comfort level no matter what situation I'm going into. And then after that, so yeah, I don't have to think about the technical part of photography.
Okay.
Like I know lighting and I know all the different shutter speeds, all that shit. So once you take that out of the window, it's just this connection. You know what I mean? Like I feel pretty comfortable that like, I think my skill is making other people feel comfortable in a situation like this.
That's the name of the game after a while.
Yeah.
Right? Like how comfortable do I feel? Right
Exactly.
now? Like I have
how
a friend,
quick you can be.
I have a friend that was just recently photographed by you, and she didn't know that we knew each other. And so I saw it on her Instagram. She was taking a photo of you, taking a photo of her. And
Wait, who's this?
Her Instagram handle is all about the experiences.
All about the experiences.
Yeah, and she no, she was taking a
Oh, she's a hair and makeup artist?
No, she works for an insurance company, I believe. What's in Petco Park?
Oh.
There's like a Gallagher. She's in Gallagher's. What is it called? Rick's gonna help me out.
Oh.
She's
Sorry,
a
man.
podcast host, experience designer, brand ambassador, and U.S. Navy veteran.
No, but what is her company?
I don't know. I don't see it in the bio.
It's an insurance company.
Oh, Cheryl. Yeah.
Cheryl.
Oh,
there you go.
I was going through my
Yeah.
Rolodex. Cheryl.
Oh, I didn't know you knew Cheryl.
By the
Okay.
way, she's amazing.
She's awesome.
She's so cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, she was getting photographed by you, and I saw her. I saw that it was you.
Yeah.
I don't even know if she had tagged you yet. I just saw you. And anyways, I bumped into her afterwards at an event, and you came up in conversation. And the first thing she said, "Oh my God, he's great." And it's kind of like
He ain't all that.
No, I was like, "Are you sure we're talking about the same man?" No, it's one of those things where you go like, it's kind of like "Have a nice day," where you can, or when you bump into somebody and say, "Hey, how you doing?" It could be a formality, or you can say, "Oh, I'm going to answer you right now with how I'm doing." So she said, "Oh, he's great." And I hear that about everybody all the time. So I chose this moment because I knew you, and I said, "Well, oh yeah, he's great." So almost in a weird way, like why? Like, how do you think he's great? Because I wanted to know what her interpretation of you was. And she said that you had made her feel really comfortable behind that camera, because it's a very vulnerable state to be like in front of lights and you're the spotlight, and what do I do now? And what do I do with my hands? And is there something in my nose or whatever? And she said that you made her feel really comfortable. I was like, yeah, that's Matt, that he can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel uncomfortable right now in front of these cameras, but thank you. Yeah, she was super cool. And honest, I feel like she's pretty comfortable in front of the camera anyway.
She is.
She didn't strike me as shy at all. So.
She is. But then there's
and beautiful. If you guys, Cheryl, thank you.
Oh yeah,
put this out
she's
here.
Amazing. She's amazing. But like, so my thing about your art is that there's a huge component about it that has to do with what people are willing to give you. And let me explain that. You said yourself in some interviews, it's kind of like, or you've said it and other people have said it about photographers. It's about their ability to get you out of your own way, kind of like get you out of, kind of let you blossom, get you out of your shell. And so that's an art form. That's a people skill,
Yeah.
right? That's something that you need to develop. So how do you do that when you pick up on your subject, let's say, and you notice that they're a little timid. Let's say it's some guy in tech, because I know that you do corporate stuff too.
Yeah.
And corporate people sometimes have phenomenal minds, and that's because they lack that extroverted kind of like comfort level. How do you do that when you go in and you say, "Oh, that guy's a little timid"? How am I going to get his personality out?
Yeah. I've done a ton of corporate tech stuff, business. That was like my first thing, actually. A business magazine who hired me, and I didn't have any business in my portfolio. Anyway, but the art director was like, "Hey, if you can," I had just like some friends who were musicians and rappers and stuff. And he was like, "If you can make some of these CEOs and tech people look cool, that's what we want." And I was like,
a gold tooth.
I was like, yeah, easier said than done. But anyway, so the way I approached it and to try to make them feel comfortable is like, get there early, do some research too. If you have any talking points with people, it's huge. Even if it's just like, oh, he went to Virginia Tech or something, like you can just sort of start talking about some stuff. I think that's really important. And then I always get there like sometimes 2 hours early, where I'm like, and usually have an assistant and we have the lighting all dialed in. And so I'm literally like, hey, X marks the spot for you right here. Boom, boom, boom. And I like to show them sometimes too. Some people maybe don't want to see it, but most people I find, if you're making them look good, they're like, "Oh fuck yeah, this is 100%. Now I'm in." So sometimes shooting to a laptop, but sometimes just on the back of the camera. And I do just, it feels like if you're really efficient, people love that, respect that. You're not wasting their time. Like I'm never there like trying to figure out. Yeah, I'm already there. I'm like, we've got 3 different looks. You could be done in 15 minutes if you want, and then sometimes people are like, I'm just so used to those early days when I was photographing CEOs, and they're like, you have 4 minutes with him, Matt. And I'm like, couldn't even make it 5. Like we're going with 4. All right. And then, when you get good at that, limited time and people, you tend to keep it going with other people, and they just seem to, what's the word? Open up, and it just makes them feel good that you're not wasting their time. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, get back.
Well, I feel like a lot of the people that are more uncomfortable in front of the camera are the people that are not typically in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And so when you can do them the service of showing them like a little bit, like, hey, here's a little morsel of what I can do with this magical lens.
Right.
They're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's somebody being done up at Mac or something. They look in the mirror, they're like, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I could look like that and stuff. And it's something beautiful almost. It's almost something like confidence building.
Yeah.
And so you like to do a lot of reconnaissance before, so that when you go into it, you're also respectful of their time, but you kind of know where you're going with it.
Yeah.
And who you're going at it with.
Yeah.
That's hard, man. That's a people skill that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah. I usually know too from the either leading up to it, if this is like a positive article, maybe a little more of a dark article. So if I'm going, I tend to go just dramatic,
Charles Manson.
But yeah, sometimes it's like, oh, you got to bring the drama with this, or like very kind of like either warm colors or cool colors. You know what I mean? Like you kind of have that thought leading into it, and so you know when you're going to go that direction, if that makes sense.
Well, that kind of leads you into a recognition of tone, right? Tone is really hard to pick up. Believe me, we all know people that don't pick up the tone, or like they can't read the room or whatever it is. So is that common? Like, not common, but in your experience, have you had to deal with that a lot, where you have to go in and you're going to say, all right, well, what is this about? And if it's a little dark or a little bit more serious, do you have a plug and play with that, or do you just have to go in knowing, all right, well, this is going to be a little bit more serious, and we'll see what happens here with this like palette or whatever?
I usually have to see what happens. You don't know what you're walking into most of the time. So like you said, kind of read the room. But what was it? Oh, but tone, yeah, I guess you're talking more about on the shoot.
Yeah, like how you adjust for that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, and believe me, this is something that perplexes me. Like even
Yeah.
after going on your website and looking at all of your photos. By the way, go into Matt Furman's website and just look at all the work he's done. It's this weird like spectrum of tones.
Yeah.
That's fine. And when you look at it, like me, going, oh, yeah, of course, how easy. It's not, because you've captured a little bit of the mood in a single shot.
I think that's the word, mood. Because I know I've met a lot of photographers who are like technically perfect, better than me technically, but I don't think like not every picture is like that perfect exposure. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I'm like, I miss the focus, but still the mood is there of the shot.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
can you give me an example off the top of your head of somebody that you photographed, or something that you photographed that was a little bit more like bubbly in mood, and then something that was that you felt, oh shit, I need to be a little bit more, I need to change the mood here, and it's a little darker, it's a little bit more serious.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Bubbly, because there are some photographers that are a little more quirky or clever, and that's not. I don't really go there. I'm a little more, just direct, soulful. I would like to think. I'm trying to think of what was
Something that you thought was
bubbly.
particularly fun that you could that it came out in the expression of the photo.
Oh.
There's a lot, and I'm gonna make you go through the mental Rolodex.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm number one, and it's weird to say it, but just
Yeah. I would say Jeff
Don't say it.
Lozano. Yeah.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I'm
Get
trying
somebody
to
else.
think, man.
Get some other B-lister like
You might have to pull up my site.
Willie
Just
Nelson.
ask me.
Willie Nelson.
Shot so many people in his
Don't care.
career.
It's usually
it's hard.
easier if you were like, "Hey, what was this one like, Matt?" Because
Yeah.
honestly, it's
You could say like
You
all the
look back.
details at that time.
I probably
like, yeah,
could.
Yeah.
One of the things with this job is like I think you're constantly sort of reincarnating yourself, or like I'm
I know one.
I even
Hold on. You shot like a series of the drag queens.
yeah.
The drag queens, and I don't know where that was. Was that Lips or something?
That was Lips for San Diego Magazine.
Yeah, you shot
my
that's
first
right.
shoot for them. Yeah.
Oh, that,
Wait,
that,
were you really? No, I wasn't there, but
Okay.
that was cool.
Yeah.
yeah,
I wasn't there. No, I wasn't there on stage.
Yeah, you were wearing,
That's only on the
you're
weekends.
wearing mascara. I remember those things.
No,
You look
I-
different in a wig, dude.
No, I love Lips though. But yeah, I remember that shoot. I remember
Thanks.
seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
That
awesome.
one, I saw that, and I was like, yo, this looks like, it looks appropriate,
Okay.
which is fun.
Yeah.
It looked fun.
It looked
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and they're awesome, and they kind of let me. Yeah, that's a good one. So that was a little different than me. Not like very portraity. I kind of set up some lights within Lips, and then just documented it as they did their
The show.
brunch. Their,
Oh, okay.
drag brunch. But we had like a VIP section where the people from San Diego Magazine were all there hanging out. First time I met Troy and Claire, who run San Diego Magazine. And yeah, that was like I love getting into those situations where I'm just like, you're just going with the flow sometimes and
Yep.
just sort of vibing off of the scene. I was kind of in and out, and also trying to be respectful because they were doing a show and there's patrons there, so I didn't just want to be like flashing all the time.
Yeah.
But
And can I tell you something about what I inferred from those photos, and you tell me if this makes any sense. I know Lips. It's an institution here in San Diego, and it's very fun, and it's supposed to be bombastic, and it's very much that, right? Loud and proud and colorful. Yet you still were able, and this is just my interpretation, by the way, I don't know if this went through your brain. You were still able to put a mood to those photos when you look at them that told a story about professionalism. It still told the story about, this is serious work, as fun and as great as it might seem and stuff like that. This is what I got from it. Let's not get away from the fact that this is still like a serious art form for them.
yeah,
And I don't know if that was intentional. I'm just saying that that's what I saw it at, and it had a lot to do with the tone and the mood of your particular photo settings or whatever, camera settings.
I'm glad that came through because I was like respectful of them letting me do this, and I don't know if. Yeah, I just came into it like, thank you for letting me do this. And I wanted to put them in a good light. Like I wanted to show that like I left there thinking like everybody's fucking happy right now. Who else goes to a drag brunch and has a bad time? And let's just tell it what it is. Drag queens getting a rough rap these days for like some bullshit. And I'm just, on their team, and whatever little bit I can do to help, I wanted to do, and that ended up winning an American Photography Award for that.
Wait, what?
series.
Really?
Yeah. I put.
Excuse us.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
American. It was in the American Photography 2023 annual. I've been in there a couple times, but it was just cool that I put that in.
Wait, 2023? Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was new.
Just happened.
Even to the San Diego Magazine people, I was like, we won an award. They were like, holy shit. And we won another one for we did their 75th anniversary cover, and that won something over here.
Wait,
that was super cool.
That one was
Thanks,
really
man.
cool.
Yeah,
You want to explain that one a little bit, because that one was very, again, fun. It looked fun. You want to crack open one of those societies,
I just
baby?
want to try one of these big
Dude,
old
you grab
bulbous-
that can like you need it. That's.
Are we doing all right here? We need
are
a
you
break,
kidding?
or anybody need a break? Okay.
You need a break?
I don't need a break, but I'm just
The only time I really need a break is for like to go grab a beer, but all the beers are here.
They're right there, yeah.
cool.
Mr. Doug.
I just didn't know if I'm
No, dude.
rambling.
No.
It's all good.
We want you to ramble. Doug was, so I before this conversation, Society. And I know that you had,
that's pretty good.
I know that Society is one of your favorite breweries in town, and we'll talk a little bit more about Portrait of a Brewer right now and get a little bit more in depth about that. I know we touched on it in the beginning, but Society is one of your favorite breweries. They went in there, and I told Doug, Doug pops in from time to time, and I talked to him, and I go, hey, man, I'm going to get Furman on the show right now. I'm about to go interview him, and, just kind of letting you know. And he goes like, oh, well, he literally said, I know Matt Furman. And I'm like, I know him too. And he goes, and I go, and I'm about to take some beer over because he loves Society, and I want to know what exactly I should take because it's going to be filmed. And he goes, give him Pupil because it's the freshest, and give him Bulbous Flowers because it's the freshest. And I go like, all right, sounds good. So what we're drinking here today is Pupil and the hazy IPA Bulbous Flowers.
I've never had this one.
Yeah,
I'm not a
I
big
haven't had it
hazy
either.
fan.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not too sweet. Sometimes these hazies are like, oof, drinking orange juice or something. Like,
Yeah.
Every time somebody pushes a hazy beer my way, and they go like, "Hey, Jeff, what do you think about this?" I go like, "Dude, tell me what you were trying to accomplish. I can help you there, because if you just ask me if it's good, I'm not gonna say it's good. It's just not my beer, my kind of beer. But if you tell me what you were trying to hit, like if you were trying to hit like this particular like citrus component, or if you wanted it to be a little bit more resonant, like I can have that conversation with you and tell you how you did. But if you're just gonna ask, hey, is it good? I'm like, it's a no. So
You sound
right
like,
now,
You sound like the craft beer hater who comes in and goes,
Check this
I
out.
don't like craft beer. I only like Bud Light and
Well,
Miller
check this
Lights.
out.
And
I'm about to get a Bulbous Flowers
Ooh.
right now
Look at you.
on the show, and I'm going to crack it open. I'm going to enjoy it with you guys.
Let's just
because
be
Society
honest.
can do no wrong.
Because as a brewer, you hate hazies because
Do you feel like it's
No,
cheating? I've heard this from some
Yeah,
other
like,
brewers.
I'm going to
like,
be honest,
there's
dude. We
something.
did so much work to clarify your beer.
Right.
So much work. We invested so much money. And by the way, I mean like a collective, like throughout history, we've been trying to make clear beer. Like, by the way, everyone thinks that hazy is like this weird, revolutionary, crazy, like, it terraforming kind of style. Like, hazy is where it all started. They all used to be hazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Until we figured out how to make it clear. Now, there's multiple things why. There's a multiple benefits for haze. I mean, for clear beer, right? Shelf stability being one of them. There's no doubt about it. When you take out the haze, you take out a little bit of the flavor, so on and so forth, whatever. There's a body component. A lot of people just don't like that bigger body. I'm one of those people. I like crisp, clean beers. And when it comes to my IPA, I like West Coast style IPAs. I like clear beers because that clarity, by the way, if you were to photograph it, I don't know how that, I just wanted to.
You're bringing it back.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's good at this.
Those clear beers, everything that makes a hazy beer hazy in your shot, that's all organic matter. That's all stuff that's still left in suspension. So that is not like void of any weight or body. It adds to that. So you're going to get a little bit more viscous of a beer, and it's going to land a little heavier on your system, on your gut. Plenty of people love that. No doubt about it. It's a craze that's not going away. And by the way, I'm glad it exists. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I like a little bit more of a thin body with a sharp bitterness and more of an effervescence and a highly carbonated kind of thing. So hazy beers
Felt like you were
lack the
just
bitterness.
using like keywords right there. Like you weren't really going.
I
anywhere,
was
but you were-
prepared.
Yeah.
I chat
He's done this
GPT'd it.
before.
I chat GPT'd it real
Yeah.
quick. Like, what makes a hazy West Coast? I like bitterness first off, and anytime that you get a hazy beer, it's gonna lack a little bit of that bitterness. It still has bitterness,
Yeah.
but it's not gonna be predominant. Anyways, this bulbous flower is really fucking good. Good job, Doug.
It's
Good job.
delicious. Yeah,
It is good.
I mean, and I think I told you this is my go-to, the pupil, whenever I see it around, and it's kind of like what you were just describing. I love the West Coast hops.
Yeah.
That it's a little more bitter than juicy, I think, on the
Yeah,
East
there you
Coast.
go. Look at you.
So-
Jesus Christ, hanging out
but
with
I've been
all
around,
these
man. So if some of the funny brewer things, Hill Farmstead, right? You've heard of that?
Yeah. In fact, I saw that you did that photo shoot with him, and
Yeah.
it was, you captured that dude really. I forgot his name, but he's a really
Sean Hill.
Sean Hill, right? And that's a cool spot. Tell us about that.
That place, it's like you're going to the Mecca. You know what I mean? Like your cell phone cuts out 45 minutes before you get there. It's in the middle of Vermont. Beautiful. Usually it's icy, or, if you're in the winter, and it's beautiful, austere, kind of like it's very clean. I don't mean cleanliness, but just like there's not a lot of tchotchkes or anything around, and yeah, Sean, I knew he can be an eccentric dude, but he's considered like that's like the number one brewery in the world, I think. Or
Is it?
I mean, it's usually right up there with all.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other
I
ones.
mean, it's held in high regard for you.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I don't think he's done many photo shoots, but like, it was really cool to, I kind of knew, be quick with him. We went around, had the lighting going, the snow was there. But one of the funny parts that my brother came with me, who lives in Lake Placid, New York, my brother Danny. And afterwards, Sean, super nice, was like, can I get you, can I give you guys some beers? Of course. And so we're in the tasting room, and there's some sun shining in the tasting room, and he walks over one of his IPAs, but like
In his
shielding it, he's shielding it from the light, the sun.
Yes.
And he's
I love
like,
this guy already.
he's like, the sun's gonna kill the aroma on this double Citra IPA that he gave us. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then, we drink it. My brother, and when he leaves, my brother's like, is he fucking serious? And I'm like, yeah, I think he is. Like, he
The
really
the
takes
Taurus
this-
and the rising moon of Aries.
he takes this, like, I mean, this is his, his baby. So,
Yeah.
and it was delicious. I mean, if you ever,
Anybody that treats their beer like it was the green ball from The Rock,
Yeah.
the movie The Rock, like where you have to handle it with care, and it's like, oh my god, there's gonna be like that is great. And I actually did see that you were talking about that photo shoot, because was it one of the first photo shoots that you ever did in the
no, no, I had done a
the
bunch.
first brewery that you ever shot?
I think Other Half in New York.
Oh yeah, they're good.
Yeah, they're good, and they were really, they're still popular, I assume, but that was for Brooklyn Magazine. That was for a magazine.
Yeah, that was for Brooklyn Magazine.
So, but that was what I started thinking, like, I should do more of these,
Why? Why did you think that?
Well, so I started to think like, because I had been doing some photographs for magazines of chefs, and I was like, like celebrity chefs at
Yeah.
the time, they weren't really. It was starting to become more of a thing. Like I remember I photographed Rocco DeSpirito, who was like one of the first celebrity chefs, if you
Yeah.
remember, and he's the sweetest guy. We were hit it off and still kind of chat on social media, but I was like, I see brewers kind of becoming like
The new chefs.
celebrity brewers in
rock
a way.
stars.
Yeah. So I thought, oh, this could be cool. And
Well, you did photograph some legitimate early in the industry upswing into notoriety rock stars. Like you got Sam Calagione.
yeah,
That was a beautiful shot because I know Sam is one of those interesting kind of people in the beer industry that he's let himself out so much
Yeah.
that you start to know him.
yeah,
Other brewers or other people in our industry, you take a photo of them or you get to know them in a weird little snapshot of their element, and it means something very much to people that know him or her and the photographer, but nobody else because they're not really in the limelight. Sam is very much in the limelight. You know, he did a TED Talk, you know, like the guy, you get to know him really well. And so when you took a photo of him, I was like, wow, you really captured him in his element. But that only happens like with the assistance of how much he lets himself out into the world anyways.
yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, totally. He was awesome too, and that was for Draft Magazine, which I don't even know if they're around
I don't know
anymore.
if they're
But
around either.
anyway, they called me and were like, "Hey, yeah, I guess I already photographed some brewers, but they called and said we're doing this, I guess retrospective of like the OGs of the industry."
Ooh.
And so I was like, "Oh wow, this is gonna be awesome." So Sam, I thought of. We also did Jim from Sam Adams, Jim Cook.
Yep.
Dude, that was a great photo. There's a photo, a black and white photo
Yeah, of him like drinking-
just drinking his beer. Like anybody listening is like, okay, like, I do that all the time. Like I have a bunch of pictures of me drinking a beer. Like no, this was like this weird, insanely
weird dude.
intimate like photo in a black and white. I don't know what you call it, like tone or fucking whatever. And he's just like, you could see it on his face. He's worn the industry. He looks like he's pioneered the industry. That's the nicest way of saying he looks kind of like, you know, beat up and old. But he's drinking this beer and there's like this refreshment that you captured. There's this weird, I'm tired, but when I drink beer, it makes me so happy. And you caught that, dude. It was wild.
I think he's done that shot before because he kind of had the like the
mustache?
yeah.
But
But
the
the
made before the shot
Yeah.
with his mustache,
yeah.
with the foam mustache.
No, but that was funny because of the magazine. They told him it was going to be a cover, and they were like, "Hey, because we have a lot of taglines and stuff, like we don't, please, like we know who you're, Sam Adams. Like you don't have to wear Sam Adams gear. He came covered in Sam Adams
Race car driver.
gear. Yeah. So maybe that, and that's why I kind of came in tight on that one because I was like, I got to get something where it's not just like tons of Sam Adams stuff, but. Yeah, so those two guys, and then the
Garrett Oliver.
Garrett Oliver,
Garrett Oliver, man. Brooklyn Brewing. And you got a good series of shots from him. And Garrett's strange, like, in my opinion. No offense to you, Garrett, if you're listening. I think it's strange in the best way possible, where he's one of those, he's just an aficionado, if there was any. You know,
Yeah.
he wears it. It's a style. It's a lifestyle for him.
100%.
He wears the fedora or his little cool hat or whatever. But you caught him. There's one photo on your website where he's just kind of like leaning back and kind of enjoying himself on a couple of barrels. I'm sure that was the first kind of barrel one that you did.
Yeah.
And you know, he you caught him, dude. You caught like his essence.
Yeah, I think
Weird.
you nailed it. He's a very interesting dude. And do you ever read his book? By the way?
I have both of
It
his.
was like one of the first beer books I got.
And when I went to the ABG and graduated from the American Brewers Guild,
Yeah.
he was one of the professors for the beer and food pairing segments and stuff.
That
So
makes
it's kind of like on the tail end of the program.
Yeah.
And then he came in with the beer and food pairing. So like the Brewmasters
Yeah.
table, I referenced that book more than I've referenced like any other book, dude.
Awesome.
It's my Bible, and
Yeah.
and he's such a great person to have at the mic for that. You know what I mean?
can tell,
So,
yeah.
that's awesome that you got to meet him.
Yeah, so he was another guy. So a lot of these I just reached out to personally and was like, hey, you know, just for me, for my personal photography portfolio, I'd love to photograph you. And he was one of the first who was like, yeah, come on over, you know, like, and I just said, in exchange for your time, I'll give you the photos. And it got to the point though, once you get him in your portfolio, you got Sam in your portfolio.
Oh, that's it. Everybody else wants to be on
Now,
it.
yeah, I had people writing to me like, hey, can you come photograph me? And like some dudes in Florida. And I'm like, hey, are you going to pay me to come to Florida? Like, these were, what I did was whenever I would travel for work, I would try to squeeze one in, and I would reach out to a local brewery, wherever I was at. And everybody pretty receptive. After you have those kind of well-known brewers in the portfolio, they were all about it.
Well, I'll tell you this. My experience with Matt when he came in, because I didn't know him from a hole in the wall, right? And he came into Ballast, and I said, like, yeah, let's go. Let's do this. And so you got a good amount of photos. But what's funny, and I'll tell you this right now, because why not? What's funny is that I can see the progression of when I was just a stock kind of like, all right, let's get you by the kettle and let's get you here in this light. Like you were very technical in the beginning, and then it blossomed into a little bit more of having some fun, and you can tell in the sequence of shots.
That's funny.
Because, well, I don't hide it. First off, I don't hide it, and you're really highly attuned to pick it up.
All right.
So from when it was just like, hey, can you just stand over there and just look up, to hey, grab the skeletons, to hey, why don't you stand on these or sit on these pallets and, like, you know, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
You can tell. Now that's a compliment, by the way.
Thanks.
That's a weird little story in it of itself. If you wanted to get granular on my particular portrait of a brewer, I'm able to see it in real time because I know my feelings going into it.
Yeah.
Right. And then what you were able to pick up on. So you have like this radar that's very highly attuned to always looking for those weird, that's it.
Yeah.
I can do this with you.
Yeah.
And does that happen?
Yeah.
Are you always?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. No, I don't really. So you don't really like have every shoot planned out.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have anything planned out for you, and then we just start talking, and then as it goes, you're right. Maybe you do kind of see like, oh, this is working. Sometimes it's too. I'll take like a bunch of lights, and I start shooting, and I'm like, you know what? Just the natural light looks good right now. You know what I mean? Or like, and it's cool. Pivot that way and just go with it, and then you end up with something interesting.
So you're New York. You go in 15 seconds before one of the most devastating and basically, like I say, iconic in a weird way moments in our country's history.
Yeah.
And then you come to San Diego. What brought you to San Diego in the first
Good
place?
question. Yeah. So as I was in New York 20 some years and met my wife there, and we lived in Brooklyn. And you know, when you're single and then two of you guys move in Brooklyn, and it's awesome and fun, and then we've had a couple kids and that was still obviously awesome and fun, but we moved to the suburbs of Long Island, and during COVID, when you're in quarantine, you kind of had that moment, at least for me, where I was like, had my head up out of the sand and able to think a little bit like, well, how the hell did we end up in Long Island? Like, are we going to be here the rest of our lives? You know, because she grew up in Long
Ray
Island.
Romano?
Yeah. She grew up there, and she was like, well, I never envisioned, you know, kind of settling down here. And I have some friends who work at Knockaround Sunglasses.
Oh yeah, hell yeah!
Excellent
Shout out
company.
to them. Yeah, of course.
Shout
You're
out
right.
to a knock around.
Yeah, and they would, for even before that, I would come out here maybe like twice a year and photograph for them, and just having some clients in LA, and also like, hey, I would love to live in California. You know, let's do this. And so luckily my wife was on board, kids were on board. We came out and visited. And in a little way of maybe this says a lot about my career, is like maybe being a little too overconfident that I could pull this off because it was pretty nuts to like completely relocate your family and ship your cars. And we got rid of a bunch of stuff. My kids at the time were, oldest was 13, youngest 8. So the 13, I mean, that was tough. And we got here
Those are hard.
That's hard ages. And I know it was hard on them. And especially they were still remote schools. So it wasn't like they just could make new friends. You know what I mean? It was like so it was tough, but I just had this thought in my mind that like, this is going to work out in the long run, and I'm so glad I did, because I do feel like, and I love the energy of New York. It got to the point where it's such a grind. Just to even get to the location of the shoot. So I was ready to give California lifestyle a try, man. I'm trying to surf. I mean,
trying to surf. You have 6 surfboards,
right?
I want to put that out there that like.
I know to anybody watching, you're going to see a bunch of surfboards. Matt wanted to make it abundantly clear that he is not in the pro-ams or anything like that.
I'm a kook, but it's become my
zen, bro.
My zen a little bit. And honestly, it's like my workout. Like I don't, go to the gym anymore. It's a killer workout to just even be paddling around out there.
Look at you. You got those slim fit pants.
When I had I lost my Apple Watch, but when I had one, literally within 10 minutes of being in the water, it's like activity done for the day. Like it's full body workout, baby. Yeah,
it's a grind. It's a grind. I wouldn't know. I watch people like you. I don't partake.
My Apple Watch knows when I'm like walking up steps, like at a stadium.
Yeah.
So,
do you need help
now?
Should we call 911?
Your heart is racing really fast. Yeah. I'm like, wow, man. Like
I have had those moments where they're like, it's an irregular heartbeat. Are you sure that you don't need help? I'm like, I'm watching a scary movie.
Yeah, it doesn't make me feel good.
But so you come to San Diego. By the way, like you're not really, the trade-off for the cost of living is not so crazy anymore. That gap is not necessarily.
It's not even. Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, but so I mean,
maybe more expensive here.
So you come to San Diego, and in that kind of transition, did you say, hey, this is a vibrant city that's going to have a lot of opportunity for somebody like you to and by the way, I don't know what lane you're going in. There's corporate lanes. And when I say corporate, I mean like insurance company lanes and stuff like that. And then there's the culinary and the bar scene, the nightlife scene, and there's this and there's that. Did you already come knowing what lane that you were kind of going to put the wheels on the train track?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. I knew I was going to get here, and if you can hustle and make it work in New York, I just felt like I'm going to be able to bring something that maybe not necessarily everybody in San Diego has. And I do think that I'm doing that because there's a lot of people who can take beautiful photos of girls in bikinis and stuff and on the beach. But like, I thought, man, I'm going to be able to do the insurance thing. I'm going to be able to do work for brands here. Like I felt like I had cut my teeth in New York and did all right.
Over.
Yeah, and then I could come here in the you're a small fish in a huge pond, and I thought like here I can maybe stand out a little more, and I knew I was just gonna hustle and keep it moving and be. It's had to be so instead of magazine, there is San Diego Magazine, but just thinking a little bit more of working with brands and sort of lifestyle rather than before. It was more like portraiture based, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I would say that the hardest part you already got out of the way, because portrait is, I'm not a professional photographer, you guys could tell me more, but like I feel like portrait and telling a story with a photo of one person's, face is very much a different beast and arguably a lot more difficult than, let's say, highlighting a brand's essence, which could be multifaceted. It could be like, oh, well, we're Billabong and we do a bunch of things. And so, okay, cool. So like the wiggle room is there. The leash is a little bit less taut. the portrait part that you have basically been synonymous with. Like when I hear about you or when someone's talking about you, yeah, you've done a big body of work, but it's the portraits that really get you like the remembrance. They're like, oh yeah, dude, Matt Furman, he did those awesome portraits. Dude, you did Willie Nelson, bro, and you made him. Can you tell us a little bit about that one? Because that one
Neil Young.
I'm sorry, Willie Nelson, Neil Young. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'd love to photograph
Both
Willie
very
Nelson.
wrinkly.
Neil Young. That's sort of my one that.
That one, when I saw his,
Yeah.
he had something very interesting that I can't describe. So you can.
Yeah, I don't know if I got. I don't, because think about, he's been photographed a ton, but I happened to catch him in a moment that like there's just not a ton of sort of studio portraits of Neil that you see around. And that was for the Wall Street Journal. We set up in a hotel in New York. He had a book coming out where he had done like these small watercolor paintings of cars. I think that's it, or I like made this up, but
We're gonna go with it.
Yeah, he was kind of doing like a little press thing, and so I knew I wasn't gonna have much time. I got there early. We're set up. I rented all this lights, cool backdrop. I was psyched. He's an intense dude. Like when he walks in, yeah, he's old. He's kind of cranky. He's just seen it all, done it all. And his manager, though, got there a little bit before he did. And I was like, any advice?
Neil Young is Neil old.
Yeah.
So make sure you have that.
But he said, if you get him talking about fracking, you'll have some time with him. And I was kind of like Googling, like, what the fuck's fracking again? I just knew he was very into that and the environment and stuff. And he also is from Manitoba, and I had dated a girl from Manitoba. So I there's a few talking points there. Yeah. And I was able to get him. And I remember there's one photo that I've sold. It ran on Rolling Stone, France, the cover of Rolling Stone.
Hell
France.
yeah. Wait, is that not a good thing?
Does it count? No, I don't know.
Why doesn't it count? That definitely counts to me.
All right. But he's like,
it's France.
He's like this, looking really intensely at the camera. And I was like, Neil, could we just do something different with your hands? And he goes, yeah. He gives me the finger. And I have a shot of it, too, of him giving me the finger. And I was like, oh,
wait, so that great. Obviously didn't get published.
I mean, I could
run
it.
Yeah, blown up.
I can run it. Yeah.
Why isn't that blown up right here? Dude, I saw that photo and I was like, okay, this is you see certain photos of certain icon. And by the way, I'm not a big Neil Young fan. I at all. But for whatever reason, I got really excited about that one because you captured something and I don't really know what it is. Yeah. And I'm sure you get that a lot. I'm sure you even have that yourself.
Yeah.
Where you're looking back and you're editing your own photos and you go like, I don't know what the hell I just did, but it's something.
Yeah.
What does that feeling kind of like, how does that go in your mind and your thought process from your artistic kind of like throughput where you go, I took it, this is what I see now in the editing room, and then this is what I'm gonna kind of like spit out as the final cut. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think rather that there's plenty of photos that you would have preferred go out, but for whatever reason they didn't, and you kept them back because you saw something in them, something great and unique, but you also knew your customer and you also knew the buyer.
Yeah.
And then so they got something that even to your own standards wasn't the best in your eye.
Yeah.
Is that fair to
Yeah, no, that
assessment?
happens a lot. I've gotten some advice from photographers when I was starting who were like, don't send anything in that you don't want your name attached to or you want them to run.
Right.
Because inevitably that's the one that's going to be on the cover and you're like, fuck. I've tried to get better at that. And oh man, I was thinking of something when you first asked the question. Oh, a lot of times during a shoot, I'll be like, oh man, I remember that one shot. It's just like that glance or whatever, everything, like little things that you're like, oh, that hair light hit the blah, 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 that people don't really give a shit about, but we do. And, but a lot of times you'll see it when you're looking through editing later and you're like, man, that didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out. And then another thing that happens to me a lot is like, I'll do a shoot, look at it that day and be like, oh, these are my favorite. And then you put it away for a couple months and you come back with like fresh eyes and you're like, I missed all these, like, these were the shots. How did I miss this? And you're like, it's just sort of getting away from it sometimes. And then you come back to it and you're like, okay, there were some gems in there that I passed over, like.
Could be because you were editing them like at like 11 o'clock at night,
Right.
12 o'clock at night.
My
juiced on-
fourth society.
Juiced on bulbous flowers. And like, that's not even him.
Yeah.
You submitted all these photos of yourself in the bathtub. That is not Neil Young at all. Do you think that that over the course of time, some of those monumental high pressure, and I say high pressure just because they're high profile, and I don't know if that has left your world necessarily, where like when you photograph an A-lister, that it's somebody else as opposed to like that person, but throughout the course of time, the confidence that you've built in your art and your ability to take pictures of, let's call them very self-conscious, very like A-listers need to know that they look great.
Yeah.
And they need to know that you made them look better. When did that stop? If it did, becoming daunting or less daunting? Like who was the celebrity, if you can think of it, that made you go, okay, I got through this person. I think I can go here to the moon from here on out.
Well, it doesn't go away, first of all.
Yeah,
the daunting
you're always
aspect.
like,
no
oh
matter
my
what
God.
I was daunted just when you guys were coming over. Like you're nervous, you know what I mean? Like, but it is a I guess it's like acting. Like the more you do it, it's a muscle that you have to keep working at, I think. Photography, I mean, and yeah, I'm trying to think. So when you were first asking the question, first of all, the A-listers are usually the easiest to work with.
Okay, yeah.
It's like the C-listers that, are all divas and shit on set. And you're like, dude, come on. You were on a reality show. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say any names, but
It's okay. Jersey Shore.
yeah, Jersey Shore. I didn't photograph that.
Yeah.
I really have not had a ton of bad experiences with shoots. I've just been lucky. But I will say, yeah, the A-listers are usually the ones who are just like so comfortable and so cool. Like the Jeters, that's what everybody, that's kind of my latest one that.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
They were that, first of all, his wife is stunningly gorgeous, like like a human that walks into the room that you're just like,
Yeah,
I
right.
can't
Yeah,
even
yeah. Jaws.
believe that. But you can tell when they're cool, when they're like talking to the lowest assistant in the the PA that nobody that's when like they're genuinely good people.
Yeah.
And that I've found that with other I guess A-listers or legends that I've had the chance to be around. It's that situation. It's usually the ones that are just new to fame and they think this is how you should be, that sort of act like a dick.
Have you lost fandomship from some of the people that you once kind of admired? And you go like, wow, I'm able to now be in the position where I can kind of like capture you and wow, man, you're not that cool.
Yeah.
You don't have to name. I'm
No,
saying, have you had that?
I haven't with actual photographing people, but I had it with a photographer that I assisted who I like admired so much, and I thought he was like amazing. And then I got on set with him, and he was literally throwing his camera and yelling at people, and I remember being like, I'm not ever gonna be like that. Like, there's no reason for that at all. And I think that might have been an old school male photographer vibe back in the day, to be yelling at every
Ramsay.
people. Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of
where
like
you're
that.
like-
But I was like, dude, this is ridiculous. Everybody's upset. You know what I mean? Like even the clients are like uncomfortable right now. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, I don't really have I wish I had like a juicy story for you.
No. I'm actually glad that you don't because I've gone through your portfolio and I've seen everybody. And I like
Yeah.
everybody, so like I'm glad you don't really have a lot of bad things to say about them because there's this weird level of intimacy, which kind of like leads me to this next point. When you do photograph these people and you've met everybody, you've traveled a bunch of places, is there like sort of this weird relationship that you just commonly build with them after photographing them in their essence?
Yeah.
You just kind of like become friends with them, or is it kind
Kinda.
of like it's a business transaction?
You do feel like, oh, I want to hang with that person. Sometimes, yeah, you do feel like that a little bit. But then, yeah, there's sometimes where it's just, it's whatever. You know what? Sometimes you leading into it, I was just thinking about this. So I've photographed, and if we don't have to talk politics here, but
You
I
can.
photographed a couple Trumps.
Definitely can. I saw that.
You saw that? Because I think I thought I took them off my website.
Oh no! I found them. I saw it.
You did. So yeah, leading up to, and that was before their dad was president. So I've never photographed Donald, but I've photographed
Is it Eric?
Ivanka and Eric.
Yeah, Eric.
And for four, Ivanka was for
They're
Forbes.
still on your website, by the way. At least,
Really?
At least Ivanka is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so anyway, they were like, we've worked with her a bunch. She can be difficult, just so you know. And I found her.
Yeah, I need to
like-
know, Matt. Thank you for letting me know. Because next week
I
have
found
dinner
her to
with
be. She was just like, "What do you need? Let's do it." Like she's done this before. She's also very pretty. She was fine. Eric was like trying too hard to be his dad. You know what I mean? I was like, dude. He even had like the slicked back hair at the time, and like,
No, Eric, you can't, for the 35th time, you can't fire me. And you can't just say you're
Totally.
fired.
But it's just funny that I'm look back and I'm like, because so Ivanka, that was even before her dad was getting into it at all. But Eric, it was like there were some rumblings of your dad might run for president, and I do remember just like jokingly being like, because we shot at Trump Tower. And just being like, could you, maybe next one will be at the White House. Like, like no fucking way this is gonna happen. And then look to it. A couple of years later, I was like, you got to be kidding me. So
You got Obama, bro. Remember when Obama said you can't? He laughed, and then boom, Trump's in the White House. But it's one of those things where those are the things that you get. They're almost they're very interesting, but they're almost more refortifying. You know it. The ones that I'm always curious about are the like Ellen DeGeneres. Like, oh, you portray this particular persona on TV and you've done it for
Right.
so long, and then you hear like rumblings and you hear like these accounts of like just this almost borderline tyranny behind the
Right.
scenes, and you go like, dang it, like I wish I wouldn't
Yeah.
have known this about you.
Right.
And you're just your guest list of people that you photographed is just so stellar. Like some of the chefs that you've been able to photograph are just, and by the way, and the shots, not just
Thanks,
who
man.
they are, but the shots that you've gotten. Oh my God, they're just so amazing, dude. I'm just like, I'm always in awe looking at your portfolio. Those are the ones that you go like, dang, I don't want him to be an asshole. Or like, I don't want to talk to Matt and he's like, yeah, she has sweatshops in Ghana. And like, shit, like I don't want that.
Speaking of Ghana, when you first asked, did you? Oh, go ahead.
No. Wherever you're going, I want you to go.
Well,
because you've done a lot of traveling.
Well, you sent me this little like list of what we're going to talk about, and I was like, oh, looking back, and some of my favorite shoots are the travel stuff, and you kind of forget. And then I was like, let me like remember so I have some talking points with Jeff.
Please
There's some places that
We might need to crack open another beer for his story.
if you're up to, yeah.
All right.
I mean, I have been to Ghana, and I've been to South Africa, Fiji, but one of the places that really like not shock, but just the craziness of it was Haiti. And I don't know if you ever, I mean,
I've never been.
it's
but,
just
it was
the poverty is so sad. You know what I mean? Like you've seen poverty, but like, you know, especially if you just go to like TJ, it's some sad areas. I mean, it's all over, but even shit, parts of Harlem and stuff like that. But it just felt like despair there in Haiti that I had. It's one of the places I've, you know.
What did you go there to
never-
shoot?
I went there to shoot Haiti Air Ambulance. So they were it was a small company that was trying to help when they have earthquakes and stuff, drop goods for people that can't, you know, they're stuck.
Yeah.
So it was a really well intentioned company, but you know, you get down there and you're just like, what? This is next level. Like,
How so?
You know.
What made it so impactful? Was it just the, like, when you land? Because I've been to some pretty impoverished spots, not Haiti in particular, but where when you go and you look different and people
Yeah.
assume, with whether it's your skin complexion or who you're rolling with, they are flooding you
Right.
for a handout and they are looking for help, and you go like, shit. This
Yeah.
is weird. I am not the Red Cross. I'm just here doing something else. And you get this weird, almost this sense of like, wow, these people are just trying to
Yeah.
latch onto some hope here.
Dude, so a good way to, so I've also been to Cuba, and the difference there also very poor, but there's a warmth. There's like a community that I felt like, and they even taking some photos, I thought there's a, you know, it's that sense of like, they don't have much, but they have each other. And they're
Right.
Haiti felt the opposite. Like so,
Dog eat dog,
yes.
like a crab in the bucket.
Like yes, like I came home just as like, you girls, to my kids, like, you are so lucky you have running water right now and like toilet paper. You know what I mean? Like, it's just we're all taking this so much for granted. Like, I'm looking around right now, like, why do I have 4 fucking surfboards? You know what I mean? Like,
Pro-am.
because this
You're out there
why do I
getting
have
pitted, bro.
a mini pit bull over here with this?
Yeah, you got like a little mini ornament there that's worth more than the surfboard.
Seriously, you do have to.
But
Check yourself.
But look, so yes, you're correct in that you're one of the people that can come back with some sort of that takeaway and that sensibility. The I guess the argument would be whether it's necessary for this weird like introspection to happen, because it's gonna happen. Like, just doom and gloom and poverty and despair. It's just a nature of things. It's just what's going to happen. There's always going to be that bottom rung of society. Our question is, we keep so many people away from it. We keep so many eyes away from it that when it gets put into full focus, right, it's uncomfortable. And people don't like to be uncomfortable. And so I say that just because, in a weird way, that's what photographers are for. You look at every single Time magazine cover, with the exception of Mr. Beast, and you go, man, Time is like is at least starting to showcase some, I mean, is responsible for showing in a shot, in one frame, a million messages about the state of our world. Not just our country, not everything. Like, it's our world, right? Photography has always been that thread through all of the needles of like, you're not going to go there, kids. You're never going to experience it, kids.
Right.
But you should see it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to help you understand appreciation and what you guys got here. And so you, being the actual traveling man that has to go and not only just see it, because there's seeing and there's and photographing it, right? Like, you have to put it in focus, no pun intended.
Yeah.
How does that feel? Does that ever fuck with you?
No, I love whenever I'm get out of my comfort zone and I'm in a situation like that. I mean, there's been times where, you know, maybe I'm thinking like, I'm not a documentary photographer. Like, maybe I shouldn't be necessarily photographing this homeless person. Like, am
You have
I
like some
just
weird imposter syndrome
yeah,
there?
kind of like, what am I helping? Am I doing anything to help them right now, or am I like,
I get it. I know what
there's
you're
some
saying.
moments like that, but for the most part, I love when I'm traveling. I'm somewhere different. Like, for example, this photo that's the Great Wall of China.
Wait, the one on the bottom.
Yeah.
So for anybody that's just listening, we're in
Oh,
we're in
yeah,
we're
I
in
could-
Matt's garage, and he
I
has
could grab that one.
he has some photos, and one of them is what is it? What is it that
So,
we're looking at?
This is, I can just grab it.
He has like a cool photo of Laird Hamilton. He has an old school thing, but he's bringing over right now a
I was gonna
photo.
bring it over. But so anyway, this is the Great Wall of China, and this guy. So this I did light this because I did an actual shoot on the Great
Jesus, that's
Wall.
so great, dude.
For American Airlines, one of my first like
Corporate.
ad jobs, and we photographed a guy who's a pretty famous screenwriter author named Nelson George. Ring a bell?
Does he?
African American dude. He's worked with Spike Lee on a bunch of
Okay,
shit.
all right.
Anyway, so we were there to scout, and we photographed him there. But as I was just cruising around, I had an assistant with a light, and I just photographed this dude who I love it.
Oh my God, this
But
is-
one of the aspects too is Nelson is like a African American dude, and so there's so many tourists throughout China there. They were just coming up to him and just touching him. They'd never seen an African American person in real life, and luckily he was really cool about it, and like,
Wait a minute. They were coming up and they were touching him as like, "Are you real?" Because they had never seen anybody like him.
yeah, like they're
That
from
is
all over the country
so
of China.
wild.
It is wild, and luckily he was. I mean,
It's such a beautiful photo.
thanks, man.
That is such an
I love that
iconic photo. Like when I say iconic, I mean it. That's wild.
It's yours.
No shit.
Please take it. No, seriously. Would you hang it
Bro,
up?
bro, are you? He. Honestly, you didn't have to do that, dude. That photograph of the Great Wall of China is,
No, I would love you. You love it. I would love for you to have it.
dude. Not only
Take
do I
it.
love it, not only do I love it, I think everybody's gonna love it. This is
clean that off for
this
you,
is the
but
craziest.
Right?
And this is
That's
just you.
amazing.
Hey, I have
This-
a camera. Let me.
I did have an assistant with a light, and I was like, "Do you guys?" I don't think they understood what I was saying, but I was like, "Can I do a test shot?" And he just kind of looked at me and gave me a little nod.
Shut your
I
mouth.
was like, "Yeah,
Was this a test shot?
yeah, yeah."
Look, Matt, you obviously have the thing, but when I was kind of doing a little research into you pre this thing, you did say
So you do
something.
research too, huh?
Bro, I do a lot of research.
All right, good.
It might not seem like it, folks, but I actually do. One of the things that I kind of did want to bring up, and it's okay, and I don't want to catch you ill prepared, but a lot of your philosophy is putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and uncomfortable places. You feel like you do your best work in those states. Is that true?
It's true. Totally.
You are a traveling man, and I don't know at what point in your career you were doing the bulk of your traveling, but you did obviously China, Ghana, and stuff like that. But I did find in between the cracks that there's you've been robbed before. Your travels have not gone smoothly. You've not just been able to like plop down and take photographs and leave. What happens? What happens abroad? What are the hard, real kind of like realities of being a photographer in these crazy environments where a guy like you is just going to get all his gear stolen? And what do you do about it?
You got to be ready for shit to go sideways, I think, when you're traveling abroad. And what I mean by that is like, well, I've kind of learned the hard way is you keep your camera gear on you at all times. I mean, I went to, did a job in South Africa, and I did have all my camera gear on me, but every piece of clothing that I checked, nothing made it. So I got there.
Oh my God. When you say it didn't make it, that means like you're waiting for it to be delivered somewhere,
Yeah.
and it never showed up.
Yeah. So this is one of my cooler or like better experience shoots that I had, where I went to South Africa and photographed a bush pilot. And I went with a writer. We flew to South Africa, and we the guy picked us up. Dude looked like Crocodile Dundee. Like he blonde hair, was wearing like a army jumpsuit. I was just like, oh man, what are we doing? But he ended up being like a really cool guy. But he lived in the bush in South Africa, right by Kruger National Park. And anyway, yeah, like my bag didn't show, and I was like, trying to get in touch with my wife, like any way they can get my bag here. So I ended up going to like the equivalent of I guess a Kmart in South Africa, and buying like some shorts and like I had a pair of shoes that I thought were really cool for a while. They were like Kmart South African Chuck Taylors that nobody had,
right.
that I was like, these are dope. Anyway, you just got to roll with it. And that ended up being cool. I forget, what was your other question?
No, I didn't really have like a narrow question. I just
when you go to like a
how do you
crazy...
deal with it? And when you get stripped of all your belongings?
Yeah. So
like,
Ghana is where I got my camera bag got stolen, and that I just
with your
feel
camera,
so...
I'm assuming.
Camera, passport, hard drives, everything. The whole oh man, this sucks. My good friend, who's a jazz musician, really pretty well known and pretty famous in his own right for he does a lot of work with other singers and stuff, kind of behind the scenes. But anyway, he's from Ghana. He was like, Matt, I'm paying for you to come to Ghana. We're going to shoot a video. We're going to shoot a bunch of content. And I got there, and that is a place where like it was stunningly beautiful. I had no idea where I was. And I remember we're shooting, and like, you kind of mentioned this earlier, maybe in Cuba, where like you just start feeling like a sea of people, sort of like, who is this white dude in our village
right.
taking photos right now? And they're all like just curious, like to check me out.
Yeah, they don't have TikTok. They're just curious.
No, this is I mean, this is being before TikTok. It's like 10 years ago. But anyway, so we did all these cool shots, and I have them in my mind. I remember they were amazing. We're in the bay. There were some old boats that were like just crashed around there, and we were doing all these cool photos. And the next day, we were going to go to a different we were going to leave a hotel, go to a different location. And I went down to the restaurant, which was connected to the front desk area. It's a lot of hustle and bustle going on. And the woman at the front desk was like, leave your bags here at the front. And there was a bunch of other suitcases and bags. And I was like, all right, like,
they know what they're
this
doing.
is what they're telling me to do.
Yeah.
And so we go, I leave all my shit down, and I went and we ate breakfast, and we're going to leave. And I'm like, Jeremiah's his name. I'm like, dude, my camera bag's gone. He's like, and I'm looking, and I'm like, no way.
Oh my God.
It's somebody. And we went, and there was cameras there. And so like, we went through a whole thing where we could see, it was like a cab driver who we think was an inside job with the woman at the front desk.
Of course.
Who was like, grab that. Cause he made a beeline for my bag and then went right out the door. Laptop, passport, cameras, hard drive. I had nothing to give. He felt horrible. I felt horrible. I didn't know how to get home. Like, I had to go to the embassy. Luckily, the owner of this hotel, because Jeremiah was like, this is fucked up, man. Like, you guys, something was going on here. He ended up giving me $4,000 US cash that I could at least go home and get a camera body, one lens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I wasn't like totally done. But yeah, that, and then getting the passport, it was a lot just to get home. And that was soul crushing. Just knowing that, man, we had some really beautiful photos and content, and he wasted his money. And he also, like, he had friends and family who were like, we don't want you to remember Ghana like this. Like, it's a beautiful country. And now we don't want you to have this like bad, taste.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, funny enough, that was like Cuba. That was like Castro's main focus. So you'd be walking through the streets of Havana, pre-embargo lift, by the way, and if a local bumped into you, there was a security guy on that corner that rushed over and asked the foreigner, "Hey, is this guy bothering you?" Like he could have bumped into you,
Right.
or you could have bumped into him, right?
Right.
I'm
Or
sorry.
some drunken,
And then he's like, "Hey,
you
is
know,
this guy bothering you?" And
American-
you're like, "No, no, no, no." I'm like, "I'm okay." Like, why? Oh, okay. So I go back and I asked the local, the taxi driver that had been a taxi driver there for like 30 years, and I go, "Hey, man, like, is that normal?" He goes, "Any tourist in Havana right now that is disturbed, if
Mm.
if it was one of the locals that caused that, they go to jail automatically
Yeah.
for like a day."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, yeah, they don't want the look. They don't want that negative media.
Yeah.
They don't want that appeal. They want Castro was always about, hey, Cuba's great. Cuba's awesome. Everybody that comes to Cuba is gonna fall into paradise, and that's one of the ways that they did it. So like some similar to like what your buddy was just like, hey, we don't want you to leave with this impression
Yeah.
of this country.
Yeah. They were.
With all
Yeah,
our
that
faults,
sucked.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, dude, you have so much more of an excuse to go out and download the world. Is there a place that you particularly like that if you had to had your death row photo shoot, we'll say, that you're gonna go to?
Oh.
A slab of land, or is Matt Furman just gonna whip out his camera?
Huh. Great question. I don't know, man.
Fuck yeah.
Maybe Italy?
Italy?
Honestly, you know what? So now that we live here, most of my family, my wife's family's on the East Coast. So when you just said that, sort of like your your death row, I would want to go back to where they're at, and they're in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania
Yeah.
area. So I mean, that's not very exotic.
No,
but
it's not about exotic. It's
Yeah.
about you.
yeah. So I would want to be back there where I grew up and where I wanted to get the fuck out of when I was younger. But now I think when you go back, you're like, well, this is kind of beautiful here, you know? Like
Yeah,
I didn't really give it enough credit, I guess, back then. So yeah, that would be it. I mean, I love Europe. And we have an aunt in Paris. Girls would love that. I don't know, man.
What a great mind or memory retention point of your brain that you have, where not a lot of people's vocation is just traveling and trying to see the most beautiful shit ever. You know what I mean? Whether it's a person or whether it's a place, you have that, and it's a tall order, I guess, in a weird way at your stage now, because people look at Matt Furman, they want to know that the next thing that he shoots is going to be beautiful.
You know, that's a good thing that, like, I do think a little bit more now that people are like, well, he's going to do something awesome. And I'm like, fuck,
Is that
I'm
pressure?
trying. Yeah, like,
is that pressure
It
like?
is pressure.
What is that
yeah.
pressure like, and how do you deal with it?
Uh,
Like when you want to just go out and do your own thing and you want to publicize it, do you think about that? Like, oh, is this going to be a reflection of my overall work?
yeah, you know what, sometimes lately has happened where I know what I can do. So I've got the job. I've seen the shot list. I've seen the, you know, all the mood boards, call sheet, and I know what is necessary to make these photos good. And I'm worried, like, whoa, they're not gonna think this is a good enough show. Like, they want to see assistants running around and lights and all this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I only need, you know, like one light to do this. And I just feel like you got to put on a show sometimes.
Uh-huh.
And that kind of worries me. But then then I talk myself out of it by being like, what? As long as the photos are good, they'll be fine. You know what I mean? But like sometimes I psych myself out with, like, people are paying a lot of money and they want a show, but I'm not putting on a show. I'm making photos here. So
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome, bro. That I love hearing that, dude. I love hearing that. Like that you have to pander a little bit, but that's it's all your
Or
world.
I at least worry
your
about
world,
it.
yeah, but your world is all in the. I was gonna say illusion, but that's an incorrect word. It's just the perception. Your world is in perception.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that is your world. Whether it's your perception being now mirrored onto the viewers or the viewers alone, just to think about what their perception is on yours. So when all is said and done, with all the you photographed mega chef stars, mega stars, you've photographed iconic brand building entrepreneurs. I'm looking at your wall right now, dude. Leonard Hamilton is like you in every space. Financial Mongols, dude, or moguls, whatever.
Mongols.
I would say Mongols because they are, but like moguls. This is the hardest question ever, and you don't have to answer it, by the way. But is there one particular photo shoot that you've done throughout the course of your shooting that it might not even be the person, it just might be the experience that you deem most memorable up to today, up this point, that was like, this is the one I always kind of go back to when I'm doing my highlight reel. This is the shoot, or this is the person, and if you can tell us why, that'd be great too.
I don't know about a person. Definitely the travel stuff always sticks out to me. I would say, man,
It could be top 10 too.
top 10. Yeah. There's some of the sports people I always, there's Mariano Rivera, the Yankee legendary
Legend,
The closer.
the closer,
Yes.
like
legendary,
unanimous Hall of Fame
Yeah.
guy. So
Only player, unanimous Hall of
exactly.
Fame.
And so I got to photograph him, and he showed up at a park in New Jersey that he bought. It's a a ballpark
Yeah.
that he paid for, and like doesn't have his name on it or anything. And he showed up by himself, and I just remember thinking, like, this guy, like, I could see him coming with an entourage or something. Like, he would be a guy, like, he should have an entourage probably, but he was the most sweetest, coolest dude who was just like, what's up, Matt? Whatever you want to do. I know he's very religious too, and I was disrespectful of that. And he, the only thing I would say is, like, when you do photograph a baseball player and they're not in their uniform, it's kind of like, oh, you're just a normal dude. Yeah, like they
It's
look
very
normal,
weird.
right? Yeah.
Can you take off
without the hat, without the
Yeah, I was like, you need a Yankee hat, dude.
You're like, who is this guy?
So
You're
that was
like,
my own
Oh,
right
okay.
Okay, that I have the same shirt. I got it at Target, and I was like, "Yep, that's what I do."
I wish I had a great story for you, man. I really,
Bro, you are a great story.
Thank
don't
you.
don't
Thank
ever
you.
fucking don't even trip. Anybody that's listening to this or watching it or whatever, if you just take 5 minutes to go down the Matt Furman website portfolio and everything that you've been able to have your eye on, you tell a story. I don't know how you do it. I'm still yet to figure out how people like you, and yes, I said you people. I don't know how you do it, man. Like the weird artistry that goes into telling a story in one fraction of a shutter shot second. That will probably be one of those things where, just like a great sonata, just like a great art, like oil painting, I hold it in the same tier of respect, where I go like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. And I will say this. I take photographs all the time. I have 2 kids. I have friends. I go out all the time. I'm on Instagram all the time. Like, Instagram has facilitated everyone being able to showcase and broadcast their eye. But there is still this weird cream that rises to the top. And I don't know what it is. And maybe we can end it on that what do you think it is that creates a great photographer, in your opinion?
I don't know. For me, at least, I've just putting the practice, the work in. Like you mentioned, your daughter is like taking a bunch of photos of her thumb or something like that. Like I have all these negatives from when I went to school for photography, and I thought I'm gonna go look back at these. Like there's got to be something good in there. It's a lot of my fucking thumb, dude, or my hand, or like you just gotta. It's like anything. I mean, I'm sure there's a skill to it, but I've treated it as like I had nothing to fall back on. I was gonna be a photographer. I kept doing it and doing it and doing it and fucking up, and then you just eventually get to the point where like I feel comfortable, like I said, going into any situation, and yeah, that's I don't know.
No, bro.
That's
No,
it.
no, no,
Yeah.
no. I get it.
Yeah.
And it's when you start to ask somebody about how they do what they do, what thought process goes into the creative component. It's like a little bit of like Rick Rubin. I don't know if you ever read his book, but it's very esoteric. It's like, I don't know how to answer this question because it is something that like it's a muse in a weird way. Like I just know how to recognize it or tap into it. And I don't know if this is your mentality or philosophy, but like a lot of artists go, I just, my tractor beam is set in such a way where I kind of like graze this once in a while when I'm scanning through the world, and I graze it. And once I graze it, I kind of take advantage of it, and then I do it.
Yeah.
Photographers, artists, alike, they're like, okay, I can only explain it in a way that you're going to understand at a certain point, because other than that, you're going to be lost if you don't get what I'm saying. Like if you don't live it, like I can't explain it
Yeah.
to you. And
I don't make it this precious art
Thing.
thing. Like I'm a commercial photographer. It's work to me a lot too. So
okay,
but whatever. I straddle that line where I'd like to think I'm still making some art, even when I'm getting paid to do it for Pepsi. You know what I mean? But like, I just don't. It doesn't bother me to be like, this was your job.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, for sure. A lot of our listeners are going to be San Diego centric, obviously.
Oh,
So let me
which I love.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me ask you something rather.
Yeah.
Besides potato chip rock, like if you were to say,
Okay.
hey, this is a good spot.
I
Like
don't
if
want to.
you are, no, not your favorite.
Oh,
You see through it the way that you want.
yeah.
But if you were like, hey, listen, this is a good spot. If you really wanted to go out and take, let's say, some good photos
Yeah.
with a great backdrop, whether they're like, engagement photos, wedding photos that have not already been hijacked by the mass media,
Oof.
this is your opportunity to destroy it.
Wow. I know. Because I have had some calls where like, we want it to look like quintessential San Diego, which my sort of fallback is Sunset Cliffs, but you just said don't don't do that.
Bro, Sunset Cliffs, everybody knows Sunset
I
Cliffs.
know. What can I do?
But you know of a sweet spot.
Well, yeah. And then Black's Beach. You got to
Oh, you
hike
want
down
naked
to it
people.
if you
Yeah,
want
you
naked
get
dudes
naked.
in the background.
Naked dudes.
Naked dudes.
Yeah.
Torrey
wanna go-
Pines. I mean, you got it. There's some. Oh man, do I have a good? Oh shit, right here at
Oh, yeah, Del Cerro. Yeah, your place right here it looks really nice.
Man, I think downtown also gets a bad vibe, but like there's some little nooks around Petco Park that are pretty dope.
Kind of depends on the person's vibes too. Like,
Yeah.
like what they want.
I mean, we get these epic sunsets, I feel like. So you could go anywhere along. Where have I done?
You've done it all.
Done it all, man.
You've done it all. You've done it.
You know
all.
what? You know what? Actually, oh, this is a good call.
go.
I forgot
Let's
about
go.
this. Barrio Logan.
Yeah.
That is a little funky spot. You're not going to find in any other city. Those murals are super cool.
Hell yeah.
There's some. Maybe you can help me. I would love to do a personal project with some of the lowrider dudes that I just see.
Let's
like,
go.
Like when I'm walking around there.
Let's
like,
go. Dude.
But I feel like you need an in. You can't just walk up and be like, "Can I
you
photograph?"
could be. Yeah, you could be too white. There's definitely a place where you can be like, I'm a little too white.
You know what? That's a section of, I think maybe San Diego sometimes gets a bad rap with like not having a ton of cultural diversity, but anytime I'm down there, I'm like, okay, this feels like I'm in San Diego. You know what I mean?
Dude, awesome, brother. That is good. That is good. How about we do this? How about we make it a point? We're gonna get you down in Barrio Logan, and you're going to be able to photograph all of the things that you thought that you wanted to photograph. You're going to be able to photograph them there. All right, and cool. And you got the end. You got Rick, and me, and Reno, some Mexicanos. So, dude, listen, man. Honestly, conversations like this are what make me love to do the show in the first place. I love it. Your introspection, the way that you look at it. You're a phenomenal photographer, dude. Like the eye that you have, dude, is phenomenal. There's a reason why that you're doing what you're doing in this city. So thank you for your time. And Rick, we're gonna get a couple of headshots, right? Right? Is that what we're gonna do? After all that, we're gonna get a couple of headshots, buddy. We're gonna get a couple of headshots. I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
Anybody that's listening or watching, where can they find you? Where can they find your work, dude? Right, website and everything.
Yeah, websites, furmanphoto.com, FURMANFOTO, which when I was 18, I thought that was clever.
Yeah, it still is.
All right. And then same, Furman Photo on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok yet, but
no,
don't you? I don't even know what to do on.
We on TikTok, Rick? We are.
Oh,
I am not, but we are.
These guys then. And
yes, TikTok is definitely like. Why aren't you on TikTok?
I just don't even know where to start with it. Like, I mean, Instagram makes sense to me. Like, you post photos. I don't really know. Maybe if like I did a little more video type stuff, or I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, maybe people would like to see some behind the scenes videos of some shoots. That might be cool.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
People love behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, Matt, you're on your website, Instagram, all that
Thanks
stuff.
to society,
dude. Thank you, society. No, are you
Thanks to
kidding,
Rick.
dude? Man, thank you for not only doing what you do, but like you're showcasing our industry in the coolest possible way, which is kind of making the brewers into rock stars. And when I started in this industry a long time ago, 12 years ago, one of my main goals was like, brewers should be the rock stars in San Diego.
Yeah.
You are helping that cause. So cheers, caballero.
Cheers,
I love
man.
you, man. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.